Hey everyone, welcome to The Explainer. Today we're doing something honestly super satisfying. We are going to completely strip away all that internet nonsense. You know, the confusing fads, the totally baseless claims that just clog up our social feeds every single day. Instead, we're diving straight into the actual biological math of being healthy. So no fluff, just the straight-up, fascinating reality of how our bodies really work. Okay, let's dive right into this. We've got a great structured roadmap ahead. First, we're going to decode those wild health buzzwords and myths. Then we'll break down the math of weight loss, introduce you to your macronutrients, weigh the pros and cons of some popular diets, and finally, hit the gym to uncover the reality of exercise.
All right, part one, health buzzwords and myths, decoding the BS. So let's just address the elephant in the room right away. When half of our leading sources for nutritional advice are like random Pinterest recipes, a lot of what we consider to be common knowledge about healthy food is actually completely made up.
I mean, you've definitely heard this one, right? Someone insists you have to eat something because, quote, it's a superfood. But seriously, what does that even mean? Well, almost universally, that phrase really just translates to one simple thing. It grows in nature. And the irony here is that half the time, it only grows in nature because humans spent thousands of years selectively breeding it to be exactly that way. It's a marketing term, guys, not a biological one.
And then, oh man, we have the word toxins. This is a completely meaningless internet buzzword when we're talking about diet. You constantly see these online claims about foods or supplements that are going to magically rid your body of these mysterious toxins. But let's just think about the logic for a second. If your body was genuinely filled with lethal toxins and simple foods could just flush them out, we could literally have brought back Steve Irwin with the blueberry smoothie. It's ridiculous. In reality, almost all of these so-called detoxifying supplements are actually just laxatives or diuretics.
Because honestly, since these detox supplements just act as diuretics, they merely make you feel like you're flushing something away. You know, you're really just losing water weight. Honestly, if that's the specific feeling you're going for, you might as well just dump 3 shots of vodka in your morning latte like a regular person. I mean, it's doing essentially the exact same diuretic job, just without the fake health halo.
Speaking of fake health halos, let's talk about antioxidants. You see endless overnight mason jar recipes telling you that you aren't getting nearly enough of them. Like, apparently you can tell you're lacking them if your skin literally starts to rust. Now look, antioxidants absolutely do play a role in your body, for sure. The problem is the suggestion that you just constantly need to consume more and more. It's fundamentally like saying, hey, the more oil you have in your car, the less likely it is to break down, which is totally false. Too much oil actually makes things way worse. But hey, good news is, if you do accidentally overfill your car, you can just add that excess motor oil right into your overnight oats, because motor oil is also extremely high in antioxidants.
And we really can't talk about trends without mentioning breakfast. It used to be this strict, unbreakable rule that you should never skip breakfast. A rule, by the way, with absolutely no scientific basis whatsoever, other than the fact that breakfast food is undeniably delicious. The cultural shift here is just amazing. It used to be that if you told people you skipped breakfast, they thought you were completely crazy. But now you just casually drop, oh, I'm doing intermittent fasting. And society praises you for being incredibly disciplined, even if the actual reality is you just slept in and woke up at noon.
Moving on to part 2, the math of weight loss. Calories in versus calories out. Let's transition away from all those myths and get into the foundational, undeniable math of your diet. Because at the end of the day, weight is strictly regulated by calorie intake. Specifically, it's calories metabolized and absorbed minus calories burned. That equation is literally always true.
And that brings us to a massively important number, 3,500. You definitely want to lock this one in your memory. This represents the generally accepted amount of calories that make up a single pound of body fat. This specific number is the core metric of weight manipulation.
So let me walk you through exactly how this unglamorous biological math actually works in practice. Let's say you want to get thick. First, we look at the average person, who burns around 2,000 to 2,500 calories a day. To gain weight, you'd need to eat roughly 500 calories above that daily maintenance level. If you repeat that surplus every single day for exactly 71 days, congratulations, you've gained exactly 10 pounds. It is just simple, straightforward math.
All right, part 3, meet your macronutrients, the building blocks. So now that we understand the math of calories, we really have to look at the composition of the food itself. Literally all food is made up of primary building blocks called macronutrients, and they serve very different, very specific physiological functions in your body. Now, what's really interesting about this is the calorie density of these different macronutrients. Fat is actually the most calorie dense at 9 calories per gram. Protein and carbohydrates both sit lower, right at 4 calories per gram.
But then, right in the middle, we have a fourth, sort of bonus macronutrient, alcohol. And it charts at 7 calories per gram, which makes it significantly more calorie-dense than both protein and carbs.
Let's look at the actual physiological roles of these building blocks. Fat is absolutely essential. It regulates your hormones and quite literally stops your cells from imploding. Protein is crucial for bodily function and muscular regeneration. Carbohydrates are your body's primary fuel for aerobic and anaerobic activity. And then we have alcohol, which sadly just poisons you. The silver lining to its toxicity, though, is that if your friend is passed out in a club bathroom, you can apparently just flush out the alcohol by popping a blueberry under their tongue like a senzu bean.
And just below those major building blocks, we have fiber and your micronutrients, so all your vitamins and minerals. I'm not going to spend too long on these, but consider this a friendly reminder to make sure you're getting enough of them, unless you actually want your teeth to fall out. Moving to part 4, pros and cons of diets. No Illuminati here. With those biological fundamentals in our pocket, let's look at the modern landscape of diets. The absolute truth here is that simply quitting bread does not suddenly make you an enlightened member of the nutritional Illuminati. Every single popular diet out there has its good points, and they absolutely all have their bad points. There are always trade-offs.
Let's actually compare a few. Veganism, for example, is highly sustainable and very nice to animals. The con? It can be pretty tough to get the right macros, and you might start wondering if your friends want you for dinner because of your dietary restrictions or just your personality. Then there's keto, the famous low-carb diet. It's fantastic for weight loss because it massively regulates blood sugar, which curbs your appetite. The downside? You have 0 carbs for energy, meaning if you plan to do any anaerobic sports or say a 100-mile run, you are for sure going to need to bring a pepperoni holster. And finally, the carnivore diet. It's great for weight loss, autoimmune disorders, and arthritis. The cons? It's highly unsustainable, long-term studies are severely lacking, and everyone in the restaurant is going to think you're a serial killer as you meticulously peel the breading off your KFC family bucket. Plus, for some reason, the community is heavily involved with cryptocurrency, so honestly, if the nutritional Illuminati did exist, it would probably be then.
Oh, and we absolutely can't leave this section without mentioning the classic if it fits your macros, or IFYM. The promise here is that you can eat whatever you want, as long as it fits your designated calorie limit and matches your allotted protein, fat, and carbs. It is a massive favorite among aspiring bodybuilders. The great irony, of course, is that the people practicing this often find it that in the 7 years they've been going to the gym, they've somehow only managed to make about 2 years' worth of actual progress.
Which brings us perfectly to part 5, the reality of exercise. Gym myths. Just like with food, there are some massive misconceptions when it comes to exercise that we really need to clear up right now.
So let me ask you this directly. How do you tone your body? I mean, you hear this all the time, right? People are always saying, oh, I'm not trying to get big, I'm just looking to tone. It is arguably one of the most common statements in all of fitness. But what is the actual biological mechanism of toning?
Well, I really hate to break the illusion, but toning isn't an isolated mechanism at all. The crucial point here is that there are only 2 variables dictating your physical appearance, the volume of muscle you have and the volume of fat you have. That is literally it. And honestly, it's incredibly difficult to build muscle, so if you're worried that by lifting weights you're going to accidentally get too big, please don't panic. Unless you are literally an anime protagonist, it just isn't going to happen by accident.
Ultimately, improving your physical health through exercise really boils down to 2 main paths. You've got strength training, which dictates how strong your body is, and cardiovascular training, which dictates how strong your heart and lungs are. It's basically a lifestyle choice of how you want to challenge yourself. You can choose to lift a heavy thing right now so you can be in pain for a while, and then lift a slightly heavier thing later. Or you can choose to ski on the elliptical machine until absolute exhaustion, so that once your heart eventually recovers, you'll have a little more love to give later. But hey, both are absolutely fantastic for keeping everything working.
And that brings us to the end of our breakdown today. We've cut through the Pinterest myths, the detox drinks, and the gym illusions. So I want to leave you with this one question. Are you ready to stop chasing internet buzzwords and start mastering the simple biological math of your own health? Because once you actually understand the numbers, the macros, and the basic variables of your body, you hold all the real power. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I really hope this sparks some curiosity, and I'll see you next time.